So good morning, everybody. Blessings to you on this beautiful morning. Welcome to today's symposium, Intentional Influence. And I want to make sure everybody can hear me. If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Johnny, can you hear me? John Camerano, can you hear me? Perfect. There we go, buddy. Excellent. Okay, so welcome everybody to Intentional Influence. I want to begin with our intention for the meeting today, and I think it's really important that you understand our intention as we begin with a workshop called Intentional Influence. The first intention we have is to share uncommon knowledge. The second intention we have is to reveal areas of hidden conflict that may be limiting your business results and limiting your ability to get the results you want in your business and help you resolve them. And the third intention is to create clarity around what you need to do to take your life success to the next level. So we want to share uncommon knowledge. We want to reveal areas of hidden conflict that may be limiting your life and business results and help you resolve them. And finally, we want to create clarity around what you need to do to take your life success to the next level. Now, I want to talk about, when I talk about uncommon knowledge, I want to talk about something interesting that most people don't know, which is that there are 4 levels of human knowledge, 4 aspects, if you will, of human knowledge. The first is what you know that you know. For instance, many of you know that you know if you spend more money than you earn, eventually you're going to go broke or bankrupt, right? You know that you know that. The second is what you know that you don't know. What you know that you don't know. For instance, many of you know how to operate a basic computer, but very few of you know you don't know how to write computer code. I'm one of those people. So you know you don't know that. And these are kind of the apparent things around human knowledge. But what we are now understanding are the limitations of human knowledge, which is what you think you know, but don't. What you think you know, but don't. You know, I think of the Titanic, and it was called the unsinkable ship. And of course, the irony is on the very first voyage, she was an unsinkable ship that theoretically they thought that she could take a direct hit from an iceberg and not go down. And of course, we know the rest of the story. So they thought they knew something, but they didn't know it. And this is where humility in our work comes in, okay? And then finally, what you don't know that you don't know. And what happens when human beings encounter things that they don't know is usually we push back and completely ignore it and discount it. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is really stay open. To get the most out of this symposium, I'm going to ask you temporarily to do a couple things. Number one, suspend judgment and disbelief. Oftentimes in my life, when I came to new possibilities, new knowledge that I didn't know, the first thing out of my ego and pride is I discounted it. And unfortunately, that really limited the joy that I experienced in my life. Later on, when I became more humble, what I learned was those things were really important and really possibly true. The second thing I'm going to ask you is, many of you, I see the names here, and thank you, so many dear friends who have been friends of Mission Driven Advisor and Soul Purpose Institute and personal friends of mine, you're here today. And what I'm going to ask you to do is beware of arrival syndrome. Arrival syndrome is, yeah, I already know that. Yeah, Steve taught me that years ago, or I read it years ago, or I learned it. There's a big difference between intellectual knowledge and experiential wisdom and knowing. So many of you are going to hear concepts that you've intellectually understood before, but may not actually be applying. And remember that wisdom is applied knowledge. Having knowledge is one thing. You know, they say knowledge is power. I would humbly submit that wisdom is power, because wisdom is applying that knowledge in context. So this is what's happening today. We're going through these 4 aspects of human knowledge, and we're going to be talking about uncommon knowledge, which are things that you maybe think you know, but don't. Things maybe you don't know, and things maybe that you've known before, but you have them in your intellect and yet are not applying them in the times you need them the most. And of course, if we're looking at what's going on in today's world with COVID-19 and, the revelation of truth consciousness around gender bias and racial bias, we see we live in a very emotionally charged time. And the ability for you to tell your thoughts where to go, to practice what we call metacognition, which is thinking about thinking, awareness of what thoughts are happening in your mind and which ones are useful and true and loving. Which ones, as a mission-driven leader, which thoughts are useful, true, and loving is going to be a really important aspect of getting beyond right and wrong, getting beyond true and false. Well, I'm right and you're wrong. Getting beyond that to what is useful. What is useful? Okay? If you're just coming into the symposium, welcome. Blessings to you on this beautiful morning. Thank you for the gift of your time. And let's continue on. What is the quandary? When we talk about uncommon knowledge, we're going to talk about the quandary because many people understand the importance of your thoughts. But what people don't know is that the human brain has a hidden defect. Our human brains have a hidden defect. The Buddha spoke about this 2,600 years ago when he talked about why human life is painful. And it's because of this defect. And what is the defect? The Einstein brain, our frontal cortex, did not replace the reptilian brain, but it was added to it. Okay? So we're almost like a rickshaw with a rocket engine on it, right? This rickshaw is the reptilian brain. It's not all that advanced. And yet now we have this genius brain, this Einsteinian executive brain, right? But it doesn't get to make the first decision. The reptilian brain, the older kid on the block, does. And so we're hardwired because of this defect to default to fear and negativity, but we are culturally programmed to repress the fear and negativity. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to express it. We're going to repress it. And this drives a repressed series of upsets into your unconscious mind, which sends stress hormones that make us dumb, literally. They make us dumb, okay? Imagine your brain is like your phone here, right? I have my iPhone here, right? And the iPhone, if it has a series of 50 open apps, is going to drain like that really, really quickly, right? What do you do occasionally? You open up all your apps and you close them. And without closing them, your phone's going to really respond poorly. You're going to have slow reception, slow internet connectivity, and it's going to drain like that. You see, this is an analogy for all the repressed upsets, angers, traumas, depressions, failures, that without having some way to learn how to heal those things and let them go, we sit in this place of being drained by our mind. Our greatest gift is our greatest challenge. And once we start to get into fear and negativity, it becomes a habit, and this habit sends stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, and norepinephrine. And what do? They disconnect our left and our right brain. They disconnect us from the executive function of our Einsteinian brain. And literally, we default to becoming dumber than we actually are. And we can see this in our behavior. We're going to explain why the world is the way it is today. And you're going to understand it at least intellectually. And you're going to have a model to break through for yourself. Now, this defect limits you from expressing your genius in your business life. Why? Because your unconscious mind is more powerful than your conscious mind. You have three aspects of the mind: conscious, unconscious, superconscious. Okay? Your superconscious mind is the aware mind. We're going to show you a model of this. You're going to understand it completely. The unconscious mind, think of, some of you are old enough for the Johnny Carson show, and he used to have a guy on there called the Amazing Kreskin. And Kreskin would hypnotize people. And he would wait, and he would find the people. He would watch the audience when they came in. And he would watch for the people that he knew were most susceptible to be hypnotized. And then he would pick those 3 people out of the audience and he would hypnotize them. And he would take them into kind of a meditative trance and a meditative state. And what he would do once they're in a meditative state was he would make a suggestion, a powerful suggestion that he would plant in their unconscious mind. And he would say, every time you hear the color red, you're going to touch your nose. Okay, we're going to come out of the state. You go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bring them out of the state. And he'd say to one guy, go over there by that red curtain. The guy would scratch his nose. The audience would laugh. I had no idea what was going on. He'd say to that lady, please pick up that red ball over there. She'd scratch her nose. And again, the audience would laugh. See, it's because the unconscious mind is so very powerful. So very powerful. There have been studies done of people taken into hypnotic states where they are suggesting that they're getting burned on their arm by a cigarette. And of course they're not. And a welt appears where they thought they were getting burned. That's how powerful your unconscious mind is. So this defect, what's going on in your unconscious mind, is limiting you from expressing your genius in your business life. And what I want to assure you, I heard this from Buckminster Fuller, the great American mathematician and architect. And he said, everybody's born a genius. You see, we believe that you're on this planet with a sole purpose. It's been said that the greatest day of someone's life is the day you're born and the day that you discover why. And this is your sole purpose, and this is your genius. And unless you understand and plan for this quandary, this defect, it's going to be difficult for you to really express yourself. How many of you are sitting there saying, you know, I could be happier, I could be more productive, I could be healthier, I could be more fulfilled, but why aren't I? Let's look. Know your brain, okay? Let's look. The first part of your brain is called the reptilian brain. Okay, you can see it there at the base of the spine, and you see that big circle, the amygdala, there's your reptilian brain. All right? Then you see this mammalian brain. Okay? This is the emotional brain. We don't have logic yet. Logic is coming. Then we see the rational brain, that big, huge, wide part of it. And that is your logic brain. So you have logic, you have emotion, and you have the animal. Okay? But notice what came first, the animal. The animal brain overrides logic. The mammalian brain, the emotion, overrides logic. How many of you have heard this statement I'm about to say, right? People buy for emotional reasons and justify with logic. Well, now you know why. It's brain chemistry. It's biology. All right, so let's look at this. Let's go a little deeper. There's 2 networks in the brain that dominate your brain. What's called the default mode. The default mode is what you default to. Unless you're doing something positive, unless you're doing a positive action-oriented task. That's the second part of the brain called the task positive network. Now remember this, your brain never takes a break. The moment the task positive network goes offline, the default mode network fires. The second you close your eyes, the default mode focuses on negative things, instinctively wired to do so for survival and safety. Okay? So survival and safety come first. And how do you focus on being safe and survive? By looking at the ways you can be hurt, by looking at the negative, by faulting back into your default mode network. So you must learn a meditation that engages what we call the task positive network, the task positive network. And I'm going to take you into a meditation for about 5 or 10 minutes right now. And this is why. Meditation is like weightlifting for the mind. Many of you are focused on exercise, eating right, really taking care of your body. Good for you. God bless you. How many of you are doing that for your mind? How many of you are eating right, which means putting in good thoughts? How many of you are developing spiritual weightlifting, building your mental strength? Because everybody on this call, you're all knowledge workers. You are, every one of you. And when you get frustrated, guess what happens? Your stress hormones go through your brain and they disconnect your genius. Okay? But when you're in appreciation and gratitude, we now know that gratitude is one of the greatest paths to the prosperity paradigm, one of the greatest paths to abundance. Being appreciative for what you already have. So, what does meditation do? It allows you to witness the thinking mind from a higher vantage point called the aware mind. Okay? You have, remember, we've already shown you have 3 basic brains in your head: reptilian brain, animal mind; mammalian brain, thinking mind, emotional mind. And then you have the aware mind, your spiritual self, your conscious, superconscious mind. Meditation is an awareness exercise that helps you see life as is, not colored by your beliefs and your thinking, but as it really is. Meditation is a discipline that helps you increase focus, And meditation is a practice that helps you consciously choose useful thoughts. And this distinction is going beyond, well, it's right, well, it's wrong, right and wrong, or true and false, or good and bad, to what is useful for my life, my mind, and my business. What's useful? What is useless? What's useless for my business? Okay? So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to ask everybody, we're going to experience a very short meditation. In the longer symposiums, we actually do a full hour, not of meditation, but we do meditations and affirmations. And we're going to do some of it, but we're going to do a very short meditation right now. So I'm going to ask everybody to do is sit back in your chair and notice what's happening right now is your default mode mind, your ego thinking mind might be barking right now. And by the way, if you're not muted, I would love you to go into your program for Zoom and mute yourself, please, because some of you are making some noise and you don't know you're unmuted. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I want you to notice what's going on for you, even as I talk about going into meditation. Some of you are like, oh, here we go. I can't meditate. This is useless. You know, what am I going to be doing, selling flowers at the airport next? No. Remember why meditation is important. Learning how to turn frustration, right, into appreciation. Because I'm going to tell you, every day in my business, something frustrating comes up. You know, we have a lot of coaches. We have a lot of students. Something frustrating is going to come up every day in your business. If you don't learn how to turn frustration into appreciation, if you don't learn how to be more disciplined and increase your focus, if you don't learn to choose useful thoughts, you are going to be stuck in a repetitive pattern of the same habits, the same thoughts, day in, day out, and you know where that gets you. That's called the merry-go-round of insanity. But what this work does, what the Soul Purpose Institute work does, is it kicks off you off that merry-go-round and it gets you onto an ascending spiral upwards towards connection with your creator and your creativity. And you become great at co-creating with your family and your beloveds and your children and your spouse and your clients and the 500 new clients waiting for you right now to reach out to you. So let's sit back. I'd like you to take your hands, put them into a comfortable position of receivership. I want you to not necessarily close your eyes. Let's leave your eyes open, because when you close your eyes, the default mode network kicks in. So I just want you to leave your eyes open for a minute. I want you to take a nice deep breath through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. This time, focus on your breath. And as it comes in through the nose, I want you to feel what breathing feels like. The elusive gift of breath. And now one more breath deep in through the nose and feel the breath. Feel what it feels like to breathe. And when you get to the end of the inhale, take a little more in. Exhaling through your mouth. Okay, now I want you to close your eyes. And I'm going to guide you through a quick meditation. What I want you to do is focus on the person that right now, when I talk about feeling love, I want you to see someone you love, someone that is really easy for you to love. So easy that when you picture that person in your mind's eye, you just smile. And when you're smiling, I want you to take your hand, your dominant hand, if you're right-handed, and you put it right on your high chest. If you're left-handed, that's your dominant hand. Put it on your left, put that left hand on your chest, and put the other hand, your non-dominant, beneath it. So now you're holding these two acupuncture points, your heart and your solar plexus. These energy centers are very important. Two energy systems called chakras, two endocrine systems that balance your body. Breathing in through the nose, and you're looking at this person and they're smiling at you, that smile that you love so much, and just breathe that smile in. You just love this person. It's so easy to love them. It's not that big an effort. Their love just lights up your life, okay? And you're holding that love in your heart. It's effortless, okay? And this is going to be a really important thing I want you to do. Now, I want you to know as you hold that love in your heart, okay? I want you to allow that person's face to begin fading from your mind, but you're holding the love that you have for that person. You're still holding it. Hang on to that feeling. Turn your eyeballs around, allowing yourself to breathe. And you're holding on to this feeling of love, and know that that love came from within you. That love did not come from outside of you. That person may not even be here in the room. It could be somebody on the other side of the veil. It could be your grandfather, right? But you're holding that love because you chose to. And notice what it feels like to hold that love in your heart. Now imagine that love as a spark. See it as a spark in your heart. And now imagine that that spark is growing bigger, bigger, bigger. That spark is growing and it's moving outside of your heart. Now your whole heart is encompassed by this beautiful love, and it keeps moving outwards. Move that light outwards till it's outside of your shoulders, moving down through your torso, moving up outside of your head. And it's this unconditional pink bubble, unconditional love, right? You're holding, and now it's immersed your whole body. You can see your whole body. Inside of that, almost like a double bubble, like the old bubble gum bubbles, right? Sitting inside this unconditional love. And I want you to feel, what does it feel like to sit inside love? Deep breath through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. And now we're going to take this bubble and we're going to bring it back in. And before we bring it back in, you're still sitting inside this bubble. We're going to create a suggestion. The suggestion is, for the rest of this year, only unconditional love can enter this bubble. Nothing but love can get in your energy field. Any negative thoughts bounce off this energy field of unconditional love to go into the universe, wherever the best place in the universe, they can be transmuted into love. But you are safe. And we're going to say that inside this bubble where you live in a supportive universe in which the success that you are seeking is also seeking you. And I want you to say this to yourself, just not out loud, but to yourself. I live in a supportive universe in which the success that I am seeking is also seeking me. Okay, and now let's bring this bubble back in. This bubble's coming in, back inside your body, back inside your shoulders, back up through your torso, back up through all your organs, centering back in your heart. You're still holding your heart and your solar plexus, and you're seeing it's coming back down to a spark. We're just going to tuck that right back into your heart, okay? And I'm going to count backwards from 5 to 1. And when we get to 1, you're going to hold this thought. I live in a supportive universe in which the success I am seeking is also seeking me. COVID-19 doesn't limit me. What's going on in the streets doesn't limit me. What's going on in the economy doesn't limit me because I know I live in a supportive universe in which the success that I am seeking is also seeking me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very gently open your eyes. Take a nice deep breath through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Okay? Now, meditation is going to be one of the most important suggestions for those of you that aren't meditating. There's a book called Tribe of Mentors, recently written. And in that book, they had 150 of the most successful people in the world. And they asked them the same 7 questions. One of them was, what's the most successful habit you can recommend people doing? And at least 50 out of those 150 people said meditation. At least 50. Now, I may be into some hyperbole here, maybe 38, but many of them, okay, probably more than 50 said meditation. The most important thing you can do for your life. Why? You make your living and your life with your mind. If you don't tell your thoughts where to go, you're going to wonder where they went. And your thoughts will be dominated by negativity, fear, doubt, worry. We're going to show you this because it's the default mode of human beings. That's the defect. Survival overrides thrival. And out of fear of survival, that default mode's constantly kicking in. Fear, doubt, worry, scarcity. Oh my God, my business, freak out, panic. Aren't you bored of it? It's boring. And it doesn't work. It's useless. Let's keep going. Something beyond, let's look at the same brain science, but you see the reptilian brain, you see the mammalian brain, the limbic midbrain or emotions. But you also see the neocortex, which is higher order thinking, and that something is around that that's dictating and looking at the mind that you develop in meditation. And that thing is called consciousness. Now, there's a scientific definition of consciousness, which is like, well, the patient got anesthetized, so they're unconscious. And now bring them out of, right, their sleep state, and now they're conscious again. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is consciousness from a metacognitive, not scientific definition, right? And consciousness is being aware of the disconnect between the result you really want in your life and what you're doing or not doing to get it. So it's an awareness. It's the aware mind. Your consciousness is your spiritual self looking down on your thoughts, looking down on your emotions, looking down on your animal instincts. It's a whole new network called not task positive network, not default mode network. It's the spiritual network. It's not you as Homo sapiens. It's you as Homo spiritus, a new branch off the evolutionary tree of life, okay? And it's being aware of the disconnect in your goals, in your life results. You may be saying, I want a great body. Well, what am I doing or not doing to get it? I want a great business. Well, what are you doing or not doing to get it? I want love. I want a great relationship with my spouse. What are you doing or not doing to get it? The thinking mind cannot tell you. Only your consciousness, only the aware mind can tell you. What a critical factor. So let's look at this. Let's look at the 3 realms of potential. You should have your workbook there. Let's open your workbook right now. Let's go to page 3, okay? Now what we're seeing on page 3 is the 3 realms of potential. Let's start with the lowest realm, the physical realm. Animal mind, fight or flight. Tend or befriend. Feed, right? Animal instinct, okay? Let's look at the second realm of potential, the middle realm. Now, by the way, let's look at what was going on during the Dark Ages. The Dark Ages were a time when it was pure physical realm. The minds weren't even awake. The brains were offline. It was a horrible time in history. Average age of death of men were 29 years old. Bubonic plague, horrible time in history. Almost 1,000 years of Dark Ages. No historical records. Dark. Why? No thinking mind. Then along came what we think of as the Renaissance. 100 people changed 1 billion people's consciousness. Only a small handful of people, Rene Descartes, Newton, Copernicus, Galileo, we know these, and untold as many women. But we don't know the women because we lived in a male-dominated world. And what was going on at that time was the thinking mind came online. We saw science begin to flourish. We saw historical records. We saw the categorization of all the genus and species of plants and animals and minerals, right? Well, guess what right now? We're in the dark ages of the mental realm right now. We need to wake up spiritually. And what is the highest realm of potential? And you can see in your book on page 3, you're writing in the aware mind, the thinking mind, and the animal mind. Here's the great truth that all spiritual teachers know. I'm going to say it, I want you to hear it, and then I want you to write it. I cannot change my thinking with the thinking mind. It's impossible. Einstein said it, right? You can't change the result with the same mind that created that result. You can't change your thinking patterns, nor your belief systems, from the same mind that adopted and created them. You can't change the thinking from thinking. You can only change thinking from the aware mind, from consciousness. This is big stuff. Let's keep looking at why, okay? Now we're going on page 3 down to these 3 realms of potential. And the highest realm, the aware mind, is be aware and intentional. Once you're aware, how do you change your thinking? With the intention to change your thinking. That's the beginning of intentional influence. To practice awareness through meditation, develop your spiritual core. I'm not talking about religion. Okay, I'm talking about the spirituality is the aware mind. The word spiritus comes from Latin, which means the breath, the invisible life force energy of awareness and intention. And our model is a be, know, do model. You be aware and intentional. You know the principles and laws. When you know the life principles and the laws of success that lead you to success, the principles always work when you always work the principles. The laws never fail unless you fail to work the laws. You've got to know the laws and the principles, okay? And then you've got to do the activities and the skills. There are activities that need to be done. And you have to develop these skills to reach out, develop trust, and communicate to people and really, really listen. We're shifting from selling to serving. Serving people is a skill. Creating enough contact with people is an activity. So you want to be aware and intentional. You want to know the principles and laws, and you want to do the activities and skills. And of course, this is what you're documenting on page 3. And we'll keep moving here. The key principle is this: hard, easy. This is what we are known for in this course, hard, easy. And what does it say? And you're going on page 4 now, where it says principles and laws in your notes page. Every moment you face a decision, every moment, by committing to do what appears to be the hard things first, you make the rest of your life easy. And I'm asking for a 1-degree shift here. If you look around, there's 360 degrees around you. I'm not looking for anything more than a 1-degree hard, easy shift every day. What can you do today in your business life to practice hard, easy? What can you do in your exercise life to practice hard, easy? What can you do in your spiritual life to practice hard, easy? And one single thing, not 10-degree shift, 1 degree, right? At 211 degrees, water's hot. At 212 degrees, water boils. Boiling water creates steam. Steam drove the locomotive changed the world. 1 degree, massive shift in the world, okay? What are the key laws? Law of awareness. This is so big. Some of you can't hear this law. You can't hear the understanding of it. But here's why it's so important. It says, I can only change what I am aware of and cannot change what I'm unaware of. In your business life, Some of you are unaware that you are doing things completely incongruent with goal achievement. How could you change it if you weren't aware of it? You can't. This is why meditation is so important. Remember, what does it do? Meditation develops, like spiritual weightlifting, the aware mind, and you become muscular in your awareness. And you see exactly what you're doing or not doing to achieve the body you want, the business you want, the money you want, the home you want, the car you want, the relationship you want. Because we know that everything that manifests in your life is an outpicturing of what's going on in your thinking mind. But you can't change the thinking mind from the thinking mind. You can only change it from which mind? Right, the aware mind. And you can't change what you're unaware of. And finally, the next law is the law of intention, which says that energy flows where intention goes. And that's what grows, right? What else could grow but where you're putting your intention and your attention? Because what you focus on expands. I remember I was with Bob Proctor, the great teacher, and his wife, Linda, had made a commitment that she was getting into a new network marketing company. And that for 1 year, every work week, 45 weeks, she was going to get up on Monday through Friday and do an hour-long series of calls to invite people into her network marketing company. And she was going to do it for 1 year. And if she didn't have the kind of business she wanted then, doing that one discipline, that one intention, that she would let it go. Well, right now, she brings in 6 figures a month from that one activity. And she was relentless and she tracked it. Isn't that amazing? 1 degree shift, one intention, one commitment. Okay, and let's look at why the thoughts you focus on, you attract. Let's look at why. Because remember, you have this reptilian brain, right? This default mode network, but you also have a higher self, the lower self and the higher self. Let's look at it. Lower self, fear, doubt, worry. Higher self, love, faith, confidence. Lower self exaggerates, lies to self and others. No problem lying. Higher self honors truth, has a duty to tell the truth. Lower self is vengeful, higher self forgiving. Lower self's belligerent, higher self is peaceful. Lower self condemns, higher self is compassionate. Lower self intolerant, higher self understanding. Lower self is impatient, higher self is patient. Lower self mocks, thinks that humor is mocking others. Higher self sees that humor is that which brings light into everybody's life. It's funny, right? Lower self is diffused, higher self is focused. Lower self procrastinates, higher self is disciplined. So I know when I'm procrastinating, I know when I'm impatient, I know when I'm intolerant, I know when I'm cursing, my lower self's taken over. And it still happens occasionally, by the way. But I'm going to show you a tool that I use that works every time because it's a law. And if I violate the law, I suffer. Lower self makes excuses. Higher self is responsible. Lower self justifies and rationalizes negative behavior. Higher self is accountable. Lower self's in lack and scarcity. Higher self's in abundance and prosperity. Abundance, the distinction there, abundance is seeing that there's more than enough. Prosperity is being in the state of more than enough. Lower self blames, higher self learns. Lower self undermines you. It's an internal saboteur, right? Sabotages you. You're sabotaging you when you're in your lower self. We see this on the streets today, right? People breaking into stores, right? A whole bunch of good people out protesting the unfairness of racial injustice. And then you have a small amount of people breaking, throwing bricks at police officers. That's sabotage. They're sabotaging the whole point of peaceful protest, right? Then you have the inner genius, the Einstein brain. So let's go through and let's look at the world and the way the world is, because I brought up this stairway of selves, and what I'd like you to do is go to page 5, and we're going to explain why the world is the way it is, and then we're going to take you through an exercise, okay? So let's look at the first step on the stairway of selves, victim mode. Look at the joy level of somebody in victim mode, 5%. Look at the life view of somebody in victim. Think about when you played the victim in your life. Think about what happens when you say, I can't, and feel victimized. Down here, we're always playing the victim. Up above the line in truth and love, this is the joy of victor, being the victor. Poverty, life results. Life view is misery, and power level is 30 watts. Can't even light up a light bulb. How do you get out of victim mode? Fear. Fear is a step up when you're down in shame and guilt. Victim mode is shame, guilt, and holding shame. Fear, the joy level goes up to 12%. Not very happy. Life view is frightening. So you're actually writing frightening in life view. Life results are fighting. And what's the power level? 60 watts. So you can see why you can't run a business from fear mode. How do you get up out of fear mode? Desire. You want to do better. You know that you can do better and you want it. And the joy level goes up to 15%, but the life view is still unfulfilled. And your life results are wanting. Power levels up to 75 watts. How do you get out of desire mode? You get pissed off. You get angry. But to stay in anger mode is a very difficult mode because it's always got negative energy running through you. And notice these 4 modes are all physical realm. So when we see people on the street angry and throwing bricks and attacking police and doing all the things they're doing, and believe me, I'm not saying that anybody can do better. They can't do better. Why? Look where their consciousness is. All the thoughts that are running through their minds are hate, violence, and anger. And what does it do? It creates disease. This is where cancer is created. And the power is still a little higher. They can cause trouble. How do you get out of anger? And this is the first step of the mental realm, entitlement. You are entitled to not be angry and not live in fear and victimhood desire. You are. By virtue of your human birth, you're entitled to more. But to live in entitlement and think that you deserve free stuff without earning it is blaming and disappointing. Look at the joy level, still really low. How do you get out of entitlement mode? Take some pride in yourself. Go to work. Earn something. You start getting more control. But look at the joy level. You're only happy a third of the time in pride mode. We can look at some of our leaders and clearly see pride mode still honoring falsehood. Truth has no meaning to anyone in pride mode because you worship falsehood. Why? Because you don't understand the fear-love principle. Every second, hard easy is choosing love over fear. So you're enslaved to being right, to being in control, to winning constantly. And you practice what we call confirmation bias. You're not interested in truth. You're only interested in winning the debate. You're only interested in proving that what you already believe, you're only trying to verify what you already believe. You're not open to truth. And I lived here for years. I understand these realms because I lived here for years. I know what it was like as a child to feel victimized. Right? And then I was afraid, and then I wanted, and I would get angry, and then I felt entitled. You know, entitled is kind of criminal behavior. It's okay to steal. I remember what it felt like to be in a grocery store and steal a piece of bubble gum. And I felt terrible. Why? Because I took pride in the fact that it was wrong. And then you get into courage. What a massive breakthrough. What is courage mode? Look at the joy level from 32 to 60%. What a massive shift. Okay? When you get into courage mode, you're now telling the truth about yourself. You feel empowered and positive. You're saying, I'm not making enough phone calls. I'm not inviting enough people into my practice. But in pride mode, you're like, yeah, I'm doing all the right things, man. You know, it'll come. No, not if I don't reach out to people, it won't. Courage is the first mode where you tell yourself the truth about yourself, but you're still attached to outcomes. And that's when you get into reason mode. Reason mode is the genius of logic. It's the scientific realm. It's not telling yourself mythologies anymore. It's not telling yourself old myths. It's being really clean about the truth of logic and reason. And your joy level, look at the joy level. How hopeful you are, how creative you are. Look at the power. You're like a power station now. Now, reason mode is always using logic to make decisions. You start to lose your belief in God. You start to lose your belief in spirit. You start to really only make decisions based on pure pragmatism. We see this is what's happened in academia today. There's no spirituality, right? It's only reason. And it becomes another ego, right? It becomes just another ego trip until you get into acceptance mode. Because what you see in reason mode is your thinking mind is driving you crazy. So some of you are in this call and you're in reason mode. Your thinking mind is just driving you nuts, right? Your thinking mind's always be perfect, be right. Look at ways you can be hurt, accentuate the negative. You haven't accepted that your life, there's this grace moving in your life. That's the grace of your higher power. If you call the higher power the universe, that can work. There's a universe out there. But the higher power is the possibility that there's an infinite intelligence, a divine intelligence that exists not only outside of you, but inside of you, that's pulling you ever higher. And that is the love of your best self, the choice to choose to be the greatest version of your higher self. And that is our definition of love, choosing to be the greatest definition of your higher self and accepting that you can be better by the grace of God, by the grace of your God self, whatever you call it. And then you get into acceptance mode. Finally, you decide that you continue to move upward. Something's pulling you higher to apply knowledge, which is wisdom. And for the sake of time, I normally spend a lot longer on this, just to fill out the stairway. The highest version is love. And look at the joy level in love. 97% happy. The life view is perfectly imperfect, right? You see imperfect things happening, but you see that they have a deeper meaning that you don't know. And when you find out that meaning, it's like a revelation. And finally, unconditional love. And we see these beings of unconditional love, these avatars, saints, saviors, they ran whole movements. You know, Martin Luther King, right, gave his life. The night before he was assassinated, said, I see the promised land. I won't get there with you. And the next day he passes, right? Gandhi, similarly, right? We see, look at the power level to run a movement like that. Much less all the avatars of every great religion in the world. Okay, so this is the stairway of selves. There's a lot more I could say about it. But the question is, where are you? And where do you want to be? How could you get, so many of you, some of you might be in pride. Some of you might be in anger and pissed off. How do you get to courage and reason? Start out with telling yourself the truth. It'll set you free. How do you get, for some of you stuck in reason, to acceptance? We're going to show you. So there's the stairway of selves. Where do you believe you mostly lived on? And how much your life changed if you learn to live higher on the stairway of selves? How might your life change? Think about that. How might your life change if you learn to live higher? Where are you now? And how might your life change if you learn to live higher on the stairway of selves? So really be authentic with yourself. Like really go in, turn your eyeballs around and say, where do I live on the stairway? Some of you are seeing you live in pride. You know, some of you see, yeah, I'm telling myself the truth. Like when I was in pride mode, I was lying to myself. I was not telling myself the truth of my real behavior. I was lying to myself. Once I got into courage mode, I said, wow, I'm not really being truthful with myself. I'm not making the calls I need to make. I'm not asking for referrals. I'm not networking to people. Okay, so how might your life change if you learn to live higher? What negative patterns or limiting beliefs might be preventing you from evolving higher on the stairway? What negative patterns? For instance, being right is a negative pattern. Needing to win too much, right? Needing to win too much. Proving myself to others. You know, feeling I'm special over other people. You know, what I learned in Soul Purpose was in a world where everybody has a soul purpose, everybody's special. and a world where everybody is special, no one's special. We have a question. Go ahead. What's the question?
Tony Gonzalez asks, can you feel like one level personally and another level professionally, or are you deceiving yourself with that thought?
That's a great question. So can you feel one level personally and another level professionally? And if so, are you deceiving yourself with that thought? It is a deception. It is a deception. Because the truth is, the way you are anywhere is the way you are everywhere. And what you notice about highly successful people is they're congruent, right? So the way they are off stage is the way they are on stage. And if they're different off stage and on stage, they're incongruent. There are many leaders in pride mode. That would be called level 3 leadership. If we looked at the book Good to Great, and if we're using a 5-step model, I took you up a 12-step model. But you can see, yes, Tony, it's a great question. So what limiting beliefs are preventing you from moving higher? Now the question is, by holding on to these old patterns and beliefs, what might it be costing you? What is it costing you? What's it costing you financially? What might it be costing you in your relationships? By holding on to these old patterns and beliefs, what's it costing you? And then finally, what can you do to take ownership of these patterns and beliefs so you can then transform them? What can you do? And I want to give you something here, because some of you lower on the stairway of selves go, Steve, I don't know, that's why I'm here. Tell the truth to yourself about yourself, right? The truth is this radical thing that we think when we're lower on the stairway will kill us. We're like, screw the truth. I got enough crap going on. I don't want to own any of that stuff. No, that's the breakthrough. You know, if people say to me in some of my individual calls, you know, Steve, you talk about God, you know, I don't believe in religion. Tell me what you think God is. God is the homing beacon inside of you that is pulling you to love more and to be more truthful. God is the homing beacon that's pulling you towards love and truth. Right? In the Judeo-Christian world, we see that, you know, Christians say God is love, and Jews say that God is mind and truth. And you see people study Torah for this reason, right? But all of us know that truth works better than falsehood. So in your business, in your practice, many of you are here for greater business results. I would humbly ask you, are you telling yourself the truth about your level of activity right now? Now, some of you, your activity is off the charts, and your life results show it. And some of you, your activity is you're making excuses, and your results show it. So what can you do to take ownership of these patterns and beliefs? Tell yourself the truth, no matter what it is, from a neutral place. See, acceptance mode is a neutral place of awareness. Just telling yourself the truth and accepting it. You don't feel bad about yourself. You actually feel good. You're like, wow, I am high maintenance. Holy cow, I'm high maintenance, right? It's like a breakthrough. And then what does God do? God does this amazing thing called love you anyway. By telling yourself the truth, all of a sudden a new level of power drops in, because look at, from reason mode, you got this one level of power, to acceptance mode, all new power drops in that you can claim. To say, I can stand up from the front of the room and say, I used to be in pride mode. Boy, was I a jerk then, but I couldn't help it. Once I got into courage, I said, Steve, you're being a jerk. Then guess what? I was no longer a jerk, because I told myself the truth, and a new power dropped in. I began to reach out to more people and invite them to my offer. Okay, now I want you to write a takeaway. One takeaway here, okay, from this exercise: awareness and change. What step you're on, maybe it's how you're going to move higher on the stairway. Maybe it's the pattern you just discovered that's preventing you. Maybe you realize, oh my God, I'm lying to myself about my activity. Maybe it's, well, I'm doing great activity, but I'm doing the wrong activity. Some of you may say, you know, I'm still reaching out to one-on-one clients. I should be reaching out to general agents inviting them to bring me into their agencies so I can talk to their agents. Wow, that's a very different activity than just reaching out to a one-on-one client. You just realized you were fooling yourself or lying to yourself. Remember the lower self, we all have one. It lies to me. My higher self says, no, I see it. I'm aware of it. I'm not suffering it. I'm not going into victim mode. Key takeaway. One key takeaway. When you're done with that key takeaway, we're going to take a break.
Are we allowed to ask questions or no?
Pardon me?
We ask questions or no?
Go ahead, Glenn. Hi, buddy.
So, how you doing?
Great.
So, I know that I certainly try to live my life in the unconditional love mode, and I think you know me well enough. I'm there 99% of the time, right? So,
okay.
The problem is I know that, and I apologize. I don't know. One of the persons was asking before, can you be on multiple levels at the same time? And you're talking about the fact that we really should try to be on one at all times, but we end up sometimes because of outside factors, which we should never allow affect us, to fall down to a lower low, to a lower level. And
you're not practicing April when you do. This is what April is all about. This is the next tool, the next part of the workshop. So Glenn, you're perfectly foreshadowing. And for those of you that may doubt that Glenn Golish is an unconditional love, you don't know Glenn, okay? But remember this, everybody. What you've done by going into a higher mode is you're only opening up, like climbing to the top of a mountain, a higher possibility to change your life. It doesn't mean you're not going to experience pride, entitlement, anger, desire, fear, and victimhood. It doesn't mean you're never going to experience those things again. You will. It only means that you have a higher possibility with which to say, oh, wait a minute, Glenn, you're going into pride mode right now. I'm aware of it. I'm present to it. I release it to God. I focus on my intention. I'm back in love. That's April, Glenn. So some of you don't know what I'm talking about. Some of you go, oh, right, April. I remember Steve talked about that, 20 years ago when he was at my agency. This is so critical. Unconditional love, if you're really there, and you're not, Glenn, you're in love. I'm not in unconditional love either. Okay? Unconditional love is where we're going. It says there are no conditions that pull me out of love. There's very few people on the planet, maybe 5 or 6 at that level. We think of them as saints or saviors. When you're in love mode, all it does is you're really, really honest with yourself. And you're willing to allow people you love to be honest with you and tell you things about yourself that are inconvenient, but because you love truth and you love them, you're like, yes, I am being prideful. Thank you. What can I do to get out of pride mode? Surrender it to God, learn the lesson, focus on my intention, boom, you're back in love. That's called practicing April. Glenn, great question. I'm going to pause here. All I want everybody else in the workshop to do is to have a key takeaway so far. One key takeaway from this exercise. You have it. We're going to pause now. We're going to take about a 5-minute break. I have 11:09. Actually, we're going to take a 10-minute break, okay? We're going to break for 10 minutes. I'm going to come back at 11:20. That would give us an 11-minute break. It's 11:09. We're going to come back at 11:20. So take a break, grab yourself a coffee, bathroom break, bio break, something to eat, whatever you need. I'm going to pause right here, and I'll be back. God bless you. Thanks for being here. We'll see you in 10 minutes. Hi, everybody. I came in a little early. I have 11:17 because Glenn asked a great question. I want everybody to hear it. It's a very advanced question, and I hope the explanation of it will be understood. Glenn's question was, I chant to myself, nothing limits me, but yet it brings up negativity in me. Why? What a great question, Glenn. When we chant something like a mantra inside ourselves, nothing limits me. Why do we say that? Because we want to be unlimited, but in fact, we're feeling limited. So when you say nothing limits me, it takes all the limitations sitting in the unconscious mind and brings them out of the unconscious mind. They come past your screen of consciousness. You see them and you go, whoa, whoa, right? If I'm already abundant, I don't have to declare I'm abundant. I declare I'm abundant when I'm feeling scarce. When you say, I am abundant, all your scarcity beliefs come up to be healed. So Glenn, you keep saying the mantra. You keep saying the mantra, I am limitless. I am limitless. I am limitless. And what does that do? It flushes out of the unconscious all the limitations you once had in your life, in your business life, in your family life, in your personal life, in your social life. When they come up, you remind yourself, they are coming up to be healed. They're not coming up to defeat me. They're coming up to be healed. Brother Glenn, does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You know, my brain always says I got to stay positive always, 100% of the time, all the time, all the time. In the split second I personally bring any negativity into my head, it brings me personally down. So that's why I always try to say, you know, even like when we did my vision and my mission statement together, I changed all those, with your help, by the way, right? We made it better by changing some of those verbiage. And so for me, it's always, I got to get that negativity out. I don't want to be in my head at all. So
Glenn, I love you, brother, because you're just bringing up so many great things. And once I answer this question, and for those of you that have questions, send them along the way. Jenna will bring them to me. And these questions are the really powerful thing. What's so interesting is that in acceptance mode, you accept that you have a reptilian brain. It's like having an inner pet. Okay? You know how sometimes your dog gets sick and it pukes on your best Oriental rug, you know? But you don't kick the dog across the floor. You love it back to health because you recognize it's sick. You see, our reptilian brain is limited. But you're the spirit in that body, Glenn. You're not limited to just the brain or your frontal cortex or your mammalian brain. You're the spirit in the body. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. So you want to look down on the body with grace and acceptance that it's going to bark at you. It's going to get stomach aches. It's going to get a toothache. It's going to get upset at my wife. It's going to get upset at my daughter. It's going to do these things because that's what it does. The question is, will you see it from the aware mind and learn the lesson and release it to God so that you can get beyond it and instantly move up the stairway of selves? Right? When I move up the stairway, I bring that higher power to my business. I reach out to more people. I create more trust. I create more value. And the level of truth that you tell yourself then becomes a level of truth that becomes the energy field of your meeting with them. Now you're able to look at things people have done. In Glenn's case, Glenn's a master financial healer, right? And he looks at their financial plan and he's able to tell them some great truths that take a lot of courage to say. How does he have the courage to do that? Because he's way up the stairway of selves. In acceptance mode, I see my negative thoughts. I just say, they're just negative thoughts. They're not mine. They're the thoughts that human beings have. I'm the spirit in the body that has a mind, but I am not that mind. Does this make sense, Glenn?
yeah, it's great actually. Even when you're dealing with the idea of when you're with a client that you personally have knowledge that they are 1 billion% wrong and they keep giving you answers and you want to keep going forward, I'm sure a lot of us I've seen some of the people on the phone, and I know they think similar to the way I do in this regard, is that you just ignore what they're saying, or you ignore what they're saying, you respond to it in a way, obviously, because you can't
exactly.
But you don't let that negative thought or whatever they're saying that 1 billion% is wrong, you don't let that affect your thinking process. You keep going through your thinking process. You just do whatever you can do to verify that they are not correct in their thought process.
Listen, Glenn, this is huge. So all you financial advisors, hear what he's saying, because clients are going to bring fear and your love must be stronger. If their fear is stronger than your love, you have no sale. When you're talking about $100,000 premium, for instance, Glenn, which you often are, okay? Well, sure, all their fear is going to come up. That's called being smart. If they don't understand it, they should tell you they don't understand it. But if you allow their low-level fear to pull you down the stairway into fear, you got nothing. If your love is stronger and you keep pulling them up, look at how this is an act of love. Then eventually, if they're a good person, they'll see it. Now, if they're in pride mode, they won't. But if they're encouraged, they will. And that's why it's so important for everybody to be choosing the right client. You want to make sure you're choosing clients, at least in courage mode. Now, some of you will work with a client who's in pride, and you're going to have the opportunity to make your love stronger. But if they keep fighting you for no reason, you got to protect your confidence by letting them go. I let a client go last week, and I love this person. I do. But they're just uncoachable. They couldn't listen. So remember, clients are bringing their own energy field. Your energy field must be stronger because you're holding the love for you and their family. They're coming from fear when they're seriously considering doing a $100,000 premium. They've got to bring up every objection because your love is like the white shirt and their fear is like the ink spot on the shirt, right? The white shirt always shows the spot. You see? And you're going to clean that spot up, not by running from it. Don't ignore it. Go right at it. The obstacle is the way. Okay, great stuff, Glenn. Thank you. Anybody else has a question, right? You're going to send the question in the chat. The team will get it, put it to me, and bring it to me. So we're going to move on. I'm going to go back to the screen share, and I'm going to pull up the stairway. And we're going to move beyond it, okay? We're going to go to the next page. And by the way, we figured out our breakouts. We're going to define intention. We're going to go through this pretty quickly so we can get us back on track. You're going to go to notes page 7 here, and I want to tell you what intention is and what the power of intention is. The standard definition is the motive behind why something is done, okay? Our definition of intention is a noble goal plus non-attachment. Noble goal plus non-attachment. In reason mode, you're still attached to results. In acceptance mode, you're accepting whatever is because you're seeing acceptance coming from the infinite intelligence. You're seeing there is a billion things going on around me. Every second my eye is open, 9 million bits of information are coming in my eye. This is a physics fact. Can you imagine the infinite number of things going on out there? Well, there's only one being that can control the infinite. So you got to be non-attached. Right? You have a goal for your clients to build the best financial life that creates the most income now and the most income in retirement, right? That's a noble goal, but you got to be clean by being non-attached. You let it go. The noble goal is to help people. Non-attachment is an attitude that sounds something like this. If they let me help, great. If not, that's okay. No is just the beginning of a conversation. Right? And there's 3 directions to intention, okay? 3 directions, up, down, sideways, okay? They indicate the basic intentions behind all things people do, positive, negative, and unclear. A positive intention is one that's meant to help people, to learn, to diagnose, and to serve people in an exchange in which both parties clearly win. This is Win, Win, or No Deal by Stephen Covey, right? The second intention is negative, an intention meant to seduce, exploit, deceive, and manipulate people in an exchange where only one party wins without care for the other. That's win-lose. And we see plenty of companies that have done that, and guess what? They're all going out of business. And finally, an unclear intention. And there's some of you out there who have an unclear intention. And how do you know when your intention is unclear? I really want to slow down and honor you as I say this. If your results are unclear, chances are your intention is unclear. Okay? Because with no clear intention, we wander in a state of aimless mediocrity. It's like with no intention, you're out in the ocean trying to find fish, and it's vast. Where are the fish? The minute you create an intention, you're putting a mile-wide dye marker down in the ocean. And you're going over the ocean, you go, oh, I fished there. You see exactly where you're fishing. Because remember, the law of intention says what? Energy flows where intention goes, and that is what grows in my life, because that is what I will focus on and expand. Like Linda Proctor saying, I will do this hard, easy task for 1 year. At the end of a year, she was making $110,000 a month in that network marketing company. So it's a very clear intention, okay? Now, non-attachment, what is it? Non-attachment is the ultimate form of caring in which you focus on controlling only what you can control, right? You're aware of what you can and cannot control. Can you control the weather? Can you control the stock market? Can you control traffic? Can you control anything I'm about to say? Can you control making phone calls every day? Can you control inviting people to talk about your offer? Can you control reaching out on LinkedIn? Can you control having a plan every single day? Can you control making the plan the night before so you wake up in the morning feeling confident? Can you control asking for referrals? Can you control seeking to create value and telling people you're there to create value? Yeah, all the first things you can not control: weather, traffic, stock market. All the other things, having a plan, doing some prospecting calls, asking for referrals, you can control those things. See the distinction? Non-attachment is the ultimate form of caring in which you focus on controlling the controllables while releasing things beyond your control so they no longer cause you pain. So draw like what I call the scale of caring, okay? On the left side, total no caring, completely detached. In the center, you're caring. On the right side, you are attached to the outcomes and the incomes, okay? And the income you may make from doing something. Let's look at what happens. When you're not caring at all, you are indifferent and apathetic. This is horrible. People that are indifferent and apathetic are criminals. When you're too attached, you become paranoid and paralyzed. When you're in acceptance mode, on the stairway of selves, you are non-attached, you're neutral, you're clean with your offer. I'm trying to help. If you let me, great. If not, that's okay. If you say no, no is the beginning of a conversation. So what does non-attachment look like in your practice? The victory is in making the call, not the outcome of the call. Can't control the outcome, you can't control making the call with a noble goal. The victory is in asking for referrals, not in how many names you get. I can ask, but I can't control how many names I get. The victory is in creating a plan, but not the outcome of the plan. So every day I have a plan, okay? But I can't control what happens in the plan. For instance, we plan to put you in breakout rooms. Well, it didn't work the first time. In 5 minutes, it will work. That's our creation, okay? I couldn't control the outcome, but we had a plan. So you adapt. And finally, the victory, your victory as a conscious capitalist, okay, is to seek creating great value for others, but not in the income you make. So you go to create value, but you can't control how much money you make. When you're non-attached, you're practicing intention, you have a noble goal to have a plan, to create value, to make your calls, to ask for referrals, because what you do makes a difference. And that's why intention has non-attachment inside of it. The power of intention is that when your intention is clear, your confidence and your conviction are supercharged. You know you're with clients for the right reasons. You know that prospects are lucky to have you in their life. They're fortunate because you're helping grow their fortune, ready and willing to help. You know that your service or product offers a powerful solution that will improve their life and their business. And when your team and your agencies are driven by positive intentions, we call that mission driven. The culture flows with a positive energy and people empower each other. Employee retention is high, clients and customers automatically refer, and business grows. Positive intention creates a pro-growth culture. Now let me tell you what intention is not. It's not some touchy-feely word blob created in an off-site meeting the boss dragged you to. It's sincere and loyal. It must be sincere and real to you. It's not a poster hanging on the office wall that blends in with the coffee pot. It is your business life purpose, specific to you. It's not just an affirmation. It's something that truly motivates an energy inside of you, a feeling towards authentic success. Intention is not only a mission statement, it's your opening narrative with prospects. It upgrades and supercharges your thinking, your activity, and your energy. And there's two kinds of intentions in business, okay? The first is a personal intention. That is for you, it's private, it's your inner intention statement that keeps your mind clear and focused internally, right? Mine is, and I've shared it many times with you, is I greet this day with love in my heart. I love you, God. I love myself. I love all others as best I can. I mean, after all, I'm human. And I gratefully receive others' love. I choose to be kind, loving, forgiving, gentle, compassionate towards myself first, knowing that when I am, it will ripple out to all others, and so on and so forth. You see, right? That's my personal intention. But my second intention is an outer mission-driven intention used to create connection with all others. And you'll notice I led today with three intentions: uncommon value, uncommon knowledge to you, helping you see your conflicts that are interrupting your business success, and helping you learn how to resolve them so you learn to go to the next level in your life. And the next level for all of you is acceptance mode on the stairway of selves. Now, some of you I know are there, okay? So the first intention is your personal intention. The second is your outer mission-driven intention. We're going to create that in our next meeting on the 26th. So how do you do this? This is a massive takeaway. My good friend Garrett Gunderson has allowed me to say this. Garrett Gunderson's a best-selling author, was a student of ours for many years and a dear, dear friend. I've been lucky enough to be a guest in his and Carrie's home and in Salt Lake City, and we had an office together out in Salt Lake City for many years, back in the mid-2000s. And when Garrett learned April, he wrote a testimonial to me and it said, "Steve, when I learned April, that was worth $100,000 alone." So I want you to listen up. How do you move from lower to higher self? This is the answer to every one of your how-to questions. Right here. This is the bomb diggity, okay? Here it is, awareness. Awareness is recognizing when you're conflicted between your lower and your higher self. In psychology, the state is called cognitive. I see it, I'm aware, I recognize it. Dissonance, clashing lower and higher self. What do? I then get here now. Being here now, which many of you struggle with, because when you're in your lower self, you're worried about the future and you're dragging the past. Dragging a 20-pound backpack of bricks that say, I can't. Fear, doubt, worry, anger, jealousy, greed, suspicion, right? No. You get right here, right now. Everything's perfect in this here and now. Taking ownership of what you can and cannot change. Well, I can't change what the client says, but I can invite them. Can't change how many referrals I get, but I can ask for referrals. I can't change the outcome of my plan, but I can change by having a plan, and so on, right? You take ownership of what you can and cannot change, and you actively surrender the limiting belief to your higher power, hand on heart, out loud. So I want everybody to stop for a minute. I want you to experience what releasing is in April, because this is where everybody blows it. Okay? Imagine you're frustrated about your business day. Imagine you had a great client meeting and you're supposed to pay for the piece of business, and there's about 100 financial services professionals. So for those of you that are not, forgive me, but I'm going to use this. You got a great case, you're gonna pay for the business, and the client calls up and cancel. I can't, my kid's broke his leg, whatever it is, right? And you take it personally. You're really frustrated, like, oh my God, I really needed this piece of business, right? Hand on heart, dominant hand on your heart, non-dominant hand below it. There's a reason for that. I'm not going to tell you why. It'll take too long. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out. And now imagine, and you say out loud, I surrender this negative feeling to you, God. Out loud, everybody. I surrender this negative feeling to you, God. I surrender my frustration to you, God. Now, for those of you that don't believe in God, say, I surrender this negative feeling to the universe. I surrender my frustration to the universe. I surrender my upset about this client canceling this meeting to you, God. I'm really frustrated, but I'm surrendering all this frustrated to you, God. All this frustration, I'm letting it go. and your deep breathing, it's almost meditative, right? You're aware you're upset. You bring your present self here. You release it to God. Then what happens? You get into your intention. My intention is to reach out to this client, to reschedule as quickly as possible, to reach out to this recruit, to reschedule as quickly as possible, because I want to love on them. What do I mean by loving a client? Leaving others valuable experiences. I'm here to leave you value. You're going to hang up this phone call at 1:05 today Eastern time, or whatever time zone you're in. And I'm going to ask you to rate the value you got today and post it on the group chat. We trust that you're getting value, but we want to know. So love means doing the hard, easy activities that leave others valuable experiences. That's how to love people in a business context. I don't love them emotionally. I don't love them physically. I love them logically by sharing my sole purpose with them. My sole purpose is for you to live yours. My sole purpose is for you to connect to your higher self. Can't you see how much the world needs it? This world is struggling because the people in their lower self are pulling everybody else down. Release it. Don't focus on that. Release it to your higher power. What is your intention? Your intention is to build a better world. How? By building a better you. You want to have a great business, you work on your business. You want to have a great life, you work on yourself. Make sense? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a breakout exercise 2. This is April in the power of intention. You're going to go to page 8. You're going to get put into breakout rooms. We're going to try it again. Briefly introduce yourself, where you're from and what you do. Hi, I'm Steve D'Annunzio. I'm from Rochester, New York. This is Jenna D'Annunzio. Right? You go through just really quickly. You elect the team captain to read the instructions and questions aloud. You discuss the answers for no more than 2 minutes per question. Then move on. It's going to be a 15-minute exercise. It'll count down on your screen. And then you're going to write a personal takeaway. Do your best. Forget the rest. We're going to do take 2. We're going to believe this is going to work. Go. Thank you, everybody. I'm hoping and knowing just by thumbs up. Good conversations, everybody? Good in the breakout rooms? Great. I'm seeing Michael Hertz. I'm seeing Rob Hawley, Travis Madsen. Great, guys. Thanks for being here. What I'd like everybody to do, I'm going to give you a sample intention. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give a little homework, excuse me. And a little bit of homework I will send at the end of the call, but we're going to do a sample intention right now. Everybody's muted. Again, hand on heart. The reason I do this is you are putting your hand on an acupuncture meridian right here that's really powerful. And when you're putting your non-dominant hand on your solar plexus, for me it's my left hand, you're bringing that heart-centered energy into yourself, right? So this is really a scientific and spiritual exercise when you're putting your hands here. So what I'd like you to do is out loud, let's read this together. Here we go. I am present, here and now, focused on the love in my heart. I am creating and experiencing the most profitable business year of my life, beginning today. I am intentionally practicing the highest level of stewardship with my mindset, time, relationships, and money. I am laser beam focused on creating and working my success plan every business day. I am practicing hard easy, thereby eliminating all thoughts that weaken me. I am becoming a master communicator through whom all the exact right words and questions flow to create the utmost value for all clients. I emanate feelings of trust, integrity, and wisdom so powerfully that people feel great about meeting me, going through my process, and referring me. This now manifests in harmony with my highest good. Amen. Now, this is a sample intention. Now, what we're going to do is send you an intention template so that you can make your own intention statement. This will be some homework after the workshop's over. We're going to send you an intention template. It's going to have blanks in it. You're going to fill in the blanks to make it your own. If you like this one, it's basically right on page 8, right beneath it. Now, if you didn't create a takeaway from this exercise, go into your page 8 at the bottom. What is your takeaway? But one of the most powerful things you can do is say an intention statement every single day. Every day, every day, every day, every day, 3 times a day. Because the intention focuses all of what you did in this exercise on staying in the positive, making sure you're bringing your higher self, everything that you talked about. Because you're all showing up right now at a powerful time on this planet, and it needs your sole purpose. So write your takeaway, and then we'll move on. And while you're writing your takeaway, we had a question, which is, this was from Corinne Matthews, and it says, what happens when you get too good at acceptance and so become complacent? Here's what's so fascinating. Acceptance mode is not a mode of complacency. It is a mode of non-attachment, where you're getting the power to make a discernment between complacency and peace. I am more active at 62 than I've ever been right now. More active, creating more value for more people, earning more money, having more fun, feeling more love than ever before. That doesn't happen through complacency, right? But it does happen through non-attachment because people hear your offer cleanly. When you're complacent, you'll know that you're being procrastinate and lazy. Because acceptance, the power of truth, is so clean. You're no longer making excuses, and you see when you're being complacent. My hard easy these days is taking enough time off. Now, when I was in pride mode, it was telling myself the truth that I wasn't really working hard enough. I wasn't really reaching out to enough people. So it's not, the acceptance mode is a mode in which truth makes a discernment so clearly between complacency, which is procrastination and laziness, and non-attachment, which is the ultimate form of caring. Great question. Okay, everybody. We are moving into our break time. We're going to come back at 12:10. I want to say great job, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging in with a couple of our technical difficulties. I'm getting a sense that there were some really great breakout rooms. It's 12:02 right now, and we will come back here at 12:10 Eastern Time, an 8-minute break. Enjoy your break, and we'll see you back here sharply at 12:10. Thank you so much. Being hard easy, right? And then do the activities and skills that need to be done to fulfill who you need to be, right? And this gives us science into being, doing, and thinking, okay? So let me just share this with you to give you a sense of it. We got it? No, hold on, we will get it. And so what MindScan does is it gives me a scientific window into who you're being, doing, and thinking. And nobody can run from it. We can see your limiting beliefs, okay? So it's not like Colby or any of the other metrics, Myers-Briggs or DISC or the Core Values Index, because those are personality tests that compare you to others in the population. What it measures is your clarity, which is your level of awareness in seeing yourself, your strengths and blind spots in each domain. And it shows us these things across these domains, being, doing, and thinking in your inner and outer world by grading you as outstanding clarity, excellent clarity, very good, good, average, poor. But then it also shows us what we call cognitive bias, which is the degree to which you use what you see on a scale of 1 to 10, minus 10 being you disregard this quality. So we call it a potential strength, or you're over attentive to it, which is mean you're so focused on it, you're actually attached. And so Plus 10 is over attentive. Minus 10 is completely disregarding whatever you see in your clarity level. And the 0 point, where that circle is, minus 10 to 0 to plus 10, at 0 point is optimal usage of your clarity. So it's measuring clarity by the size and color of the circle. Then it's measuring your cognitive bias by where it is on the line from minus 10 to plus 10 to 0, okay? So what I'm gonna do is tell you what cognitive bias are. And if you're not already confused, you're doing great. And expect that you're not gonna get it all. You know, we're MindScan certified. It took us years. When your high clarities have a positive bias, you use that thinking to see the good arising from things in that area. We call those natural strengths. When your bias is positive, 5 to 10, you bring a positive attitude to that thinking. Now, the only downside to a positive bias is that you may go too quickly for others who lack your level of clarity in that domain. And so for instance, if your structured thinking is plus 10, you're a genius processes systems thinker. But other people may be slow in that domain, you don't know it, and you may be going so fast that they think you don't care about them. So this is important to know these things, okay? When your high clarities have a negative bias, you're using that thinking to see what is wrong with things in that area. You're stuck in the downside of taking action. And so they're potential strengths for you. I'll show you. This isn't making any sense, maybe. Some of you may. When your bias is negative, 0 to 4, you're bringing a cautious or skeptical attitude to that thinking, thus negating a potential opportunity. And if the circle is at 0 point or close to it, you are in what we call a balanced bias, which allows for optimal harmony because you are bringing the most non-attached, objective view to each event in person. You are clean to deliver optimal value. Now, I'm going to show you my MindScan, okay? This is the very first time I took MindScan. Look at my external empathy, top left, okay? Very balanced. I see others clearly, and I'm very balanced in my view of them. But I wanted to work on that. I wanted to get better, okay? Now look at the right. On the right, that's 1 year later. My external empathy is really higher. It's a green circle, not red. I'm actually overly attentive a little bit, but I'll take that, okay? Let's look at my bottom left, internal self-empathy, right? I had very good clarity, but I was mildly ignoring my own good that I do in the world. I was disregarding it. Now, look at a very clear sense of my inner worth and personality, and still a mild attention to this aspect of myself. And those that know me say sometimes I'm hard on myself. My MindScan shows it. Almost most importantly, look at in the internal world, which is at the bottom, my role awareness on the left, right? Excellent knowledge about my ability, but afraid of the downside of taking action, meaning it's at the bottom of the circle, a minus 10. I'm disregarding my role and that I'm not reaching my potential. Now look at on the right, my role awareness. It's a blue circle, outstanding, an exceptional ability to know my strengths, and look at how much I'm applying it. Look at my self-direction in the inner world, right? A yellow circle, which is not very clear. I think it's fuzzy. And all in, meaning attached to what I should be doing. Now look at the bottom on the right-hand side, bottom right, internal world self-direction. Excellent self-directing ability, clear self-goals, realistic self-understanding and ideals. We call this, on the top, we call this the classic CEOV, right? Which is, you can see that empathy is high, right? Excellent green. On the right, structured thinking, superior analytical insight. Practical thinking is outstanding, but look at the very negative bias towards the downside of taking action. So that's what I'm working on. So what you can see is my old MindScan and my new MindScan and how much I've been working on it, and it shows those results. Now we want to look at your MindScan. Hopefully you printed it out, or you have it on your iPad or your computer, or you printed it out in front of you. Because what we're going to do now is understand yours. And we want you to go to page 10, okay? And what you see on page 10, we're going to start in your external world. We're looking at your mind scan, right? And we want to know, what is your clarity in first empathetic? Empathy in your external world. That's empathy in the external world is the ability to see and act on others' feelings. Now, by the color and size of the circle, how clearly do you empathize with others? Go to number 1 on your page. My clarity is, if the circle is blue, wow, outstanding. Okay? If it's excellent, you put excellent. If it's very good, very good. If it's a yellow circle, good. If it's average, that's fuzzy. And if it's poor, it's a poor empathy to see and act on others' feelings. So get clear about, what is your empathy? You should be writing down, my empathy is either outstanding to poor, right? Now, once you've done this, we're going to go to your bias. Next, are you over-attentive, balanced with, or disregarding what you see in others? So you're going to circle one. My bias is either positive, negative, or the optimal, which is balanced. Okay? Now, if this makes sense to you, what we're going to do, actually, we'll come back to that. Okay? Now we're going to go to practical thinking. Your practical thinking is the top middle on your mind scan. Okay? Practical thinking is the ability to notice things, what makes them better or worse, and to make objective distinctions and comparisons. So again, number 2 on page 10, my clarity, practical thinking, my clarity is, and again, what is your level of clarity? Outstanding to poor. Write that down. And what we're really looking for is, what's your superpower? What's your highest strength? Want to start noticing that, okay? And then what's your bias? Meaning, is it way at the top of the line, plus 10? That would be a positive bias, right? Is it way at the bottom? Is it a negative bias? Or is it somewhere in between, balance? Balance would be 0 to maybe minus or plus 2. So what is your bias? And what does that mean? Again, when you have a negative bias, you're stuck in the downside of taking action. For instance, you saw here, my practical thinking was outstanding, okay? But I was afraid I had a downside of taking action. I was afraid that if I took action, oh my God, what would happen? What if I upset somebody? Because I have high external empathy. So you want to start to notice this. We're going to give you ways you can accentuate your strengths and actually bring up your awarenesses around your weaknesses, okay? Now we're going to go to structured thinking, okay? By the way, practical thinking is the doing aspect, okay? Structured thinking is your thinking aspect. Top right on your mind scan. Structured thinking is the ability to pay attention to systems, order, right and wrong, and theories of defining things and people. This is number 3 on page 10 for you, structured thinking. Your clarity is what? Outstanding to poor. And then what is your bias? Are you over-attentive, balanced, or disregarding when it comes to this thinking domain? Okay, and now we're going to go to your internal world. Bottom left is self-empathy. It's number 4 on page 10. Self-empathy is probably, and a low self-empathy is probably one of the biggest things that I see in leaders today. And you saw it in mine. My self-empathy was low compared to my external empathy. Self-empathy is the ability to pay attention to your own unique value, personality, and inner self, which includes your imagination and feelings. What is your level of clarity here? Again, self-empathy from outstanding to poor. So you might say, if it's a red circle, you might say my clarity is very good. And what is your bias here? You saw my bias is negative. Now I had excellent self-clarity. I could see myself at an excellent level. But it's almost as if by having a negative bias, I was afraid that people would think I'm egotistical. And of course, because I do so much work on the ego, I can understand that. The last thing I'd want is for a teacher of not being egotistical, for people to think I'm egotistical. Does that make sense? Right? So I see this in a lot of CEOs. A lot of leaders have lower self-empathy. They have a disregarding of the good they do in the world, right? So I want you to notice that. If you are at 0 point or you're balanced here, wow, well done. Well done, okay? Number 5, bottom middle in your mind scan, right? This is your role awareness. Role awareness is the ability to pay attention to your accomplishments, how you compare with others, and to the relative good you bring to the world. What is your level of clarity here? Right? Outstanding, excellent, very good, good, average, poor. And then again, are you over attentive, balanced, or disregarding in your role? And this is really important. If you're balanced in your role and you have high clarity, wow. But if you're not, okay, good to know. And finally, bottom right, this is number 6 on your page, which is my clarity is blank. And this is around self-directed thinking, is the ability and desire to live out your goals, your principles, and your values. Now, people that have a low self-directed thinking are not living out their goals. They don't know the principles, and they don't know what values would help them create more value for others. Right? So self-directed thinking is your idea on how you should be and the rules by which you govern yourself. What is your level of clarity here? So put my clarity as like I looked at someone's mind scan, it was poor. And I know what's going on in their life because they've told me and it makes perfect sense. They don't know what to do. They don't know the rules of life. They don't know how they should be. Oh my God. What is the law of awareness? I can only change what I'm aware of and cannot change what I'm unaware of. Mind scan's telling him he's unaware. Now, by the grace of God, we're going to practice April. We're going to clean it up. Now, for you, let's do the cognitive bias and complete that. Are you positive, negative, or balanced, right? Are you over-attentive, positive, balanced, or disregarding, negative, when it comes to directing your thoughts into action? Okay? And now what we want to do is we want to do number 7, which is recognizing and accentuating your strengths. That's your superpower. This is where you're either blue, excellent, or red, right? Which is blue, green, or red. Outstanding, excellent, or very good. Everybody's got that. What I want you to do is now on number 7 is notice your largest circles. And realize your greatest clarities indicate you are strongest at. Now look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it practical thinking? Is it external empathy? Is it structured thinking? Is it self-empathy? Is it role awareness? What is it? Okay, number 7. Now to master your natural strengths, which are your positive bias, right? You're going to complete the following, and it says, I will. And what we're going to do is give you some coaching, all right? This is the action plan to master your strengths, to maximize your potential strengths, to work on your lowest scores, your weaknesses, all right? Let's start with empathy, top left. What can you do if you have low external empathy or if you have a negative bias? Spend time with someone you enjoy. Call a friend that you care about that you haven't spoken to in a long time. Ask someone else's opinion and really listen. I have a guy that I was coaching, I no longer am. He had blue external empathy, meaning outstanding, he saw people clearly, and he was -10, which means he completely disregarded them. And by calling people he cared about that he hadn't spoken to, and asking others' opinion, people were shocked because they felt completely unseen by him, completely disregarded. What else? Praise a colleague in front of others, right? Catch somebody doing something well and praise them in front of others. Reward someone who does a good job or steps out of his or her comfort zone. Talk to someone with views different from yours without becoming disagreeable. Now, what am I showing you? I'm showing you that if you have a high clarity around external empathy, but maybe a negative or a positive bias, what can you do to clean it up? What can you do if you have a low, like a poor clarity around external empathy? Do these things to clean it up. You can either clean up your bias, bring it to a 0 point, which is balanced, by doing one of these 6 things in empathy. So if empathy is a weakness, you can go down action plan for your weaknesses. And what it says there is this: awareness of your weaknesses, while committing to grow in these areas, will help eliminate negative patterns, especially if self-empathy or external empathy is one of those weaknesses. So if it's weak, this is what you can do. If the bias is high or low, if you're low, it's disregarding what you see. If it's high, it's maybe attached to what you see. So what do? One of these 6 things. Now, if this applies to you, choose one of these 6 things that most resonates with you. That would be a hard, easy task, but it resonates with you. So if you have a positive bias, you want to master it, you write down, I will call a friend that I care about and haven't spoken to in a long time. What a heck of a thing that is. I do that occasionally, and it's always so beautiful. Or how about, you might be a really high producer, and you go to someone else that's not as high a producer, and you ask their opinion and really listen. What do you think's happening to a low negative bias that's being disregarded when you're being externally empathetic like that? You get it? Okay? So let's look at mind scan your doing, which is your practical thinking. Top, middle. What can you do to master a strength or maximize a potential strength? Or if it's a weakness for you can say, to work on my practical thinking, I commit to blank, and I will know that I have succeeded when I'm thinking more practically, when I'm making the calls I'm not making. Some of you are not prospecting enough. That's a practical thinking problem, period. You may have huge empathy, but if you're doing nothing with it, what good is it? Right? So what do you do here? You might clarify the 3 most important work tasks. For instance, having a plan every day and living that plan might be one of the most important. Making an hour prospecting calls 3 days a week and keeping track of them. And asking for referrals from everybody I do a meeting with that week. And then diligently keeping score of doing them for 2 weeks. This is a very pragmatic, practical thing. It's a doing. What else might you do? Meet weekly with an accountability partner. Boy, I'll tell you, when you do that, there's nowhere to hide. Okay? Chunk down your goals into bite-sized pieces. Some of you have such big goals, it's like trying to eat a steak, but you're trying to eat the whole cow. It's impossible. So instead, you cook a steak, a 10-ounce steak, and then you cut it into a bite-sized piece. You chunk that goal down into plan every day, phone work 9 to 10, meetings 10 to 5, right? Chunk down the goals. Focus on your core competencies without falling prey to shiny object syndrome. Oh, look, new shiny objects. Oh, look, a new marketing plan. Nope. I know my core competencies, right? You're staying with it. Slow down as you read documents and scan for key points, right? So for those of you that are trying to master a positive bias in this domain, top, middle on your mind scan, practical thinking, external, right? Doing, practical thinking, you'd complete the following. If you're trying to maximize a potential strength, meaning bring up a negative bias to 0 point, you're going to choose one of these 5 things. If it's weakness, be aware of it, and to say, number 10 or 11, to work on my practical thinking, I commit to clarify the 3 most important work tasks, and keep score of them for at least 2 weeks. And I will know that I have succeeded when I've gotten a minimum of 2 new opens each week. Now, I'm speaking financial services language here, people. But for some of you, like there's a whole marketing team on here. To say, well, I will know when I'm keeping track. I will know I will have succeeded when I can check off my entire list by 4 o'clock. Okay? Let's go to the top right, which is external structured thinking. What can you do to master your natural strength, maximize a potential strength, or work on a weakness here? Plan some small project, start to finish, and do it. Small project. Okay, I have a small project that I'm doing out in my backyard. I'm refinishing a tile table that broke down, right? So I'm planning to do that in July. That's a small project. It could be your garden. It could be your ideal week. Because I'm telling you, every one of your ideal weeks, given COVID-19, needs to be upgraded. Your ideal week looks nothing. Here we are in June, like what it looked in January. So there's a small project. What else could you do to master a natural strength, maximize a potential strength, or if this is a weakness, a low clarity, to work on your structured thinking? That's big. Block out extra time required to go to meetings better prepared. Slow down. Pay more attention to details. Oftentimes, those of you that coach with us, right, know that we say to you, how often have you heard from Jenna or Rayanne or Bob or Bill or whoever, or David or me? Slow down to speed up. So with people that have low structured thinking, we're coaching, we do this a lot. Slow down, pay more attention to details, ask greater questions. Number 4, what a weird thing to say. Procrastinate selectively. If you must put something off, let it be something you probably shouldn't be doing anyway. Number 5, this is a funny one, but boy, oh boy, I'm going to tell you, this helped my structured thinking. I am a speeder. I break the rules. For me to drive the speed limit, that's tough. But it really, really helped my structured thinking. I know it sounds crazy. Again, what are you doing on this page 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11? If you're really weak in your structured thinking, you're going to go down to 10 or 11, and you're going to say, to work on my structured thinking, I commit to drive the speed limit, and I will know that I have succeeded when I'm no longer in traffic court on a weekly basis. No, I will know I will have succeeded, right? You'll know something that you need to know. For instance, if you say, I'm going to slow down and pay more attention to details, and it might be to work on my structured thinking, I will slow down and pay more attention to details, and I will know that I have succeeded when I'm asking better questions of clients and really listening to their answers and writing those answers down. That's big, okay? We did the external world. Now we're going to go to the internal world. Bottom left, self-empathy. This is where I'm working big time, right here, okay? You notice negative self-talk, and you increase positive talk by practicing awareness, presence, releasing, intention, and love. For some of you, the biggest thing you can take out of this whole day together is releasing. Releasing, releasing, releasing. If you take nothing but that, massive shift in everything on your mind scan. Another might be recognizing and write down your unique ability, right, your soul purpose talent, on a 3x5 card and put it above your desk. You know, you may say, I am world class. Like if you have an outstanding circle, you are rare. Wherever you had outstanding, a big blue circle in one of these 6 domains, you should write that down because you are a superhero at that unique ability. Okay, put it above your desk and don't care what anybody thinks of you. Forget approval. Forget it. The only person whose opinion about you matters is you. Know your superpower. Stay to your strong suit. Remind yourself of it. By doing so, your self-empathy will naturally come up. Think about how you stand up for others you love, and then be that way for yourself. Imagine someone's talking bad about your kid. What would you do? Right? And now, imagine they're talking, it's your ego talking that way about yourself. That's what that means. Be that way for yourself. Recognize what gets you down on yourself and practice releasing it each time it comes up. And finally, catch yourself doing something well and acknowledge it in the mirror. I got into the habit, and I'll do it in, let's see, maybe 20 minutes. After this workshop, every public speech that I do, I go in, I wash up, and I look myself in the mirror in my eyes, and I say, well done. Especially when I didn't think it was well done. That's when I need it the most. So this is what you can do, bring up your self-empathy. If you have low self-empathy or low clarity, you're going to go in and you're going to say, to work on my self-empathy, I commit to notice my negative self-talk and increase positive talk by practicing April. And I will know when I've succeeded when something wakes me up at 3 in the morning and I've learned to release it and go back to sleep. Right? I'm giving you an example. Let's move on. Mind scan role awareness, bottom, middle, doing. What can you do if it's a weakness, role awareness, or if you have a negative or positive bias? What can you do to bring up your role awareness to the 0 point, a balanced role awareness? Choose someone to explain your career path and role to, and by affirming it to them, you will deepen your own understanding of it. Okay? What else can you do? Ask people who you've served what they think you did best. Ask your family and friends what they see as your natural strong suit, role, or position. Write down what makes you valuable to your company. Review the values, products, and philosophy of your company and ask yourself, is it really a match for what I do best? So if your role awareness, let's say your clarity is high, let's say it's very good, a red circle, but it's way at the bottom. What that says is you're disregarding what you see in yourself. So what could you do to not disregard it? Right? Choose someone to explain your career path and role to, and by affirming it to them, you'll actually hear it yourself and deepen your own understanding. And you'll say, well, why would I disregard that? I'm a financial healer. Look at all the financial strife going on in the world. Why wouldn't I be inviting more people to my doctor's office to heal? You see? So if it's a weakness, right, you're going to be down in 10, 11. You might already have 12 and 13 down there, right? But if it's something that is a strength of yours, but you have a positive bias, meaning it's a high circle, it's a big circle, very good, excellent, or outstanding, but it's a plus 10, right? You might be going too fast with your role awareness. But if it's a low minus, a negative bias, right? To bring that up, you're going to choose one of these. And you would put in number 9 to maximize your potential strength. I will write down what makes me valuable to my company. When I do that, then I'm clear about my role awareness, okay? And finally, the final one, self-direction, bottom right on your mind scan. Your thinking, your internal thinking, self-direction, okay? And what this is, what you can do to clean this up if it's low is make SMART goals and committedly keep score of the activities and results only for a month, no more than a month. You got to fool the ego, right? What is a SMART goal? Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time-based. Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time-based. Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time-based. That's a SMART goal, okay? What else can you do? Practice hard easy by tracking and journaling the one hard thing you did that day. Like, if you're a financial advisor on this call, you might boil down self-direction to one hard thing. Did you make a prospecting call today? Did you make an hour of prospecting calls today? The one hard thing, and track it that represented your 1 degree shift. What else could you do? Think about your significant accomplishments to get into a peak state, meaning I'm standing on stage at Gamma. I'm about to go on. There's 5,000 people in the audience. The speech went well, and I'm getting a standing ovation. I'm in peak state. Go. Right? Take a class or hire a mentor to focus on personal development. If you need a mentor, hire us. If it's not us, hire Dan Sullivan. They're terrific. Or Tom Gazzardo. Tom's a great coach, but hire somebody. Not having a mentor is costing you 10 times what you would pay a mentor. You pay a mentor $6,000, you'll make another 60 if you do the work. And finally, self-direction. Identify someone that is doing what you might want to be doing. Spend time with them and ask lots of questions. Okay? All right. So, we just threw a lot at you, but you got something, right? I know you're probably confused about the mind scan to some degree. If you're not, you're amazing, okay? Because it took me a lot to understand mind scan. There's a lot here. But now what we're going to do is going to do action steps on page 11, okay? And again, you're going to go into your breakout room, introduce yourself, where you're from and what you do, quickly elect the team captain. Each person has 2 minutes to share their 3 takeaways. Now go to page 11, okay? And notice what it says: to become aware of a critical insight you'd not realized before. And what you're going to write down, what you're going to say to the group is, the critical factor I became aware of today is how hard I am on myself. My action step is to read my intention statement. I love that intention statement that Steve had. And the date I will begin doing this is today, right? I'm beginning today, June 12th, Friday, June 12th at 12:45. And I will know I succeeded at this effort when I take my mind scan in 6 months and my self-empathy is high, right? So that would be what you're going to do. And make sure you then complete each section, if you didn't during the breakout, immediately following the event. You may not get through everything. So if you don't, in your breakout, because we only got 15 minutes to do this breakout session, right? It's going to count down, it's going to be over, right? So then if we don't complete this page for you, this is the biggest takeaway for you. Complete it immediately following the event, okay? We're going to now put you in breakout rooms. Go for it.